Welcome to another episode of IGCSE Biology Revision. Today we're going to be looking at section 6 of the syllabus, Plant Nutrition. And now I've underlined some of these sections in green, and those are the practical components that I'll be covering in another video. So I guess it's easiest to start off with the basics. What is photosynthesis? Now, photosynthesis is defined as a process by which plants make carbohydrates from raw materials using energy from light. Now, those that are undertaking the core curriculum, then you just need to know the word equation for photosynthesis, which is carbon dioxide plus water, and with chlorophyll and light, making oxygen and glucose. Now, for those that are taking the extended curriculum, you just need to know a bit more than that and know the chemical equations for that. So it's 6CO2 plus 6H2O making 6O2 and C6H12O6, which is glucose. Now, the role of chlorophyll is to transfer light energy into chemical energy, which is present in glucose. And once that is done, glucose is converted into starch for storage inside leaves. Now, I don't know if you've come across this term before, but the concept of limiting factors is a really important one in your course. So, by definition, it's something present in the environment in such a short supply that it restricts life processes. Now, I think this is a bit of a weird way to put it. I think an easier way would be to word it like a process like photosynthesis that requires several factors. Okay, so we looked at light, carbon dioxide, etc. The factor in the shortest supply is the limiting factor. Okay, so if you don't quite get it, then I'll just give you an example here, and hopefully that sums it up a bit. So let's just say you're making sandwiches. Okay, you're making sandwiches as fast as you can, and the ingredients that you're using are bread, lettuce, and ham. So you're in charge of making the sandwich, whereas you've got three friends. And they're each in charge of one of the three ingredients, and they hand you their respective ingredients as you make your sandwich, alright? So, two of your friends in charge of the bread and lettuce are really fast. So, whenever it is, the bread and lettuce is always ready to go. Unfortunately, the friend that is in charge of the ham is not as quick. So even though you always have enough bread and lettuce to make the sandwich, you can't exactly make the sandwich without receiving the ham. So essentially, no matter how fast the other two friends are, the rate at which you make your sandwiches will be determined by how fast your slowest friend gives you the ham. So in this case, the ham is the limiting factor. So some limiting factors of photosynthesis would be light, carbon dioxide, and temperature. So you might be wondering why water is not a limiting factor, even though it's one of the raw materials required for photosynthesis. There's a good reason for this, but you don't need to be concerned with this because it's not within the scope of your course. So we're just going to take a look at each of the graphs one by one. So we can see that as you increase the intensity of light, the rate of photosynthesis starts to increase. Okay, so as it increases up to this point here where it peaks, this is when light is a limiting factor. Okay, so light is the ham in this case. So the faster your friend gives you the ham, the faster you can make the sandwich. As with light, the more light you have, the faster the rate of photosynthesis, because light is the limiting factor. Now, when it kind of reaches a flat surface like this on the graph, it means that no matter how much more light you have, the rate of photosynthesis is not going to increase. Now, that's when you can say that light is not the limiting factor now, and another factor is the limiting factor. You don't know what it is, you just know that it's not light anymore. Same with carbon dioxide. You have an increasing rate of photosynthesis with an increasing amount of carbon dioxide until a certain point where carbon dioxide is no longer the limiting factor and something else is. Temperature, at really low temperatures, molecules don't move really that quickly, so the rate of photosynthesis is low. And so up to this peak here, temperature can also be a limiting factor, where as you increase the temperature, it goes more towards the optimal temperature of other enzymes used in photosynthesis and eventually reaches a peak. Now, unlike the other two graphs, this graph does not flatten out, because the more higher the temperature, the more likely you'll end up denaturing the enzymes. If you took a look at my previous video about enzymes, so you can see that if the temperature gets too high, the rate of photosynthesis will decrease entirely back to zero, because the enzymes will all become denatured and the plant will die. Now, I'm just gonna really quickly cover the structure of a leaf. So not only for the core curriculum, you just need to know how to identify the structures in a transverse section of a leaf. But for those of you that are taking the extended curriculum, then you need to understand the adaptations of the leaf and its structures in order to maximize the efficiency of photosynthesis. So just going from top to bottom, we've got the waxy cuticle at the top of the leaf. You have the upper epidermis made of epidermal cells. You've got the palisade mesophyll layer, which is made of palisade mesophyll cells. Next, you've got the spongy mesophyll layer made of spongy mesophyll cells. And in the lower epidermis, you've got a line of epidermal cells once again. But you also have something called guard cells, which has a gap in the middle, and it is able to control the size of this gap, and we call this gap stomata. Now, stomata is really important because for photosynthesis, gas exchange is always happening. So for photosynthesis, the plants require carbon dioxide, whereas it releases oxygen. So this space is important for it to kind of like take in the carbon dioxide and let out the oxygen that it makes from photosynthesis. The spongy mesophyll layer, you can see that it is really loose compared to the palisade mesophyll layer, and that is also in order to maximize gas exchange. So you need a space for the gas to kind of diffuse into and diffuse out of, and that's really good at doing that. And not only that, spongy mesophyll cells also actually have chloroplasts and chlorophyll in them as well, so they can use it to kind of photosynthesize directly too. And of course, the palisade mesophyll layer is probably the most important layer when it comes to photosynthesis, and I've covered their adaptations in another video of Syllabus 2.3 levels of organization. So if you haven't watched that, then I suggest that you check it out. And finally, we have the mineral requirements that plants need in order for survival. So you've got nitrate ions, which is used to make amino acids, and we talked about how amino acids are made to make protein. So without protein, nitrate deficiency will lead to slowed growth, and so the stems become weak and the lower leaves become yellow, whereas the upper leaves become pale green. Now, magnesium is used for making chlorophyll. So if you don't have chlorophyll, the leaves will turn yellow, because chlorophyll is what makes the leaf green in the first place. So the leaves turn yellow and the plant growth will slow because there's not as much photosynthesis going on. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next episode.